This is Valerie, and here we are for the fifth in our series, our masterclass series for early childhood teachers. We're going to begin with a 5-minute seminar viewing some movement principles about what might seem like simple games. Don't forget to download your handouts. But first, we have a very special guest. Joan Carr Shimer is online with us right now, all the way from Vermont. Hello, Joan.
Hello, Valerie. I'm delighted to be sharing games with you tonight.
Okay, it's great. It's a real treat. All right, so we are going to follow the seminar with 6 action games suitable for children ages 2 to 6. But first, in this little seminar, I'm going to speak about the spatial concepts of up and down.
One of the essential, perhaps the essential gesture of the young child is finding the experience of down. Before birth, the baby is floating inside the mother and then comes through the birth either with the compression and force of a natural birth or freed suddenly by C-section. Shortly afterwards and throughout the first years and beyond, the child should be placed on its back on a flat horizontal surface, according to one of my own teachers and mentors, the remarkable Ingen Schneider. In this manner, the infant feels its first real connection to the laws of earthly existence, the feeling of its back against the down of the table or the cradle surface. In that first year, the child explores and moves against that surface in the common movements that we're familiar with. It wiggles and stretches and turning, twisting, and finally rolling over and pushing down against the ground toward standing upright. This process of finding down leads to becoming upright through a continual exploration of free movement and spatial integration that leads to ease of movement and ease of living throughout life. The toddler continues the gesture of playing with down and up. In her article, available here, Jane Swain gives more examples. Dropping toys, throwing toys, dropping food, eating utensils from the high chair, climbing onto furniture and logs and other nature elements and jumping down, climbing up and sliding down slides, going up and down on a seesaw, just plain jumping. Jane explains that it's the role of the adult to gently guide the child down to the earth. She gives the example of a pogo stick that, while obviously providing an up and down experience, is really too jarring and percussive for the young one, who wouldn't really be able to do a pogo stick anyway until after the age of 7, in my opinion, resulting in the child becoming unglued and out of itself. We can also see this with early trampoline experiences. The jumping, bouncing can lead to a child getting out of themselves. Nursery rhymes, songs, singing games give us lots of up and down gestures. Jane remarks that it seems that the characters all fall down. This is incarnation, this coming down to the earth. We can see this with Jack and Jill, Rock-a-Bye Baby, Hickory Dickory Dock, Ring Around the Rosy, Humpty Dumpty, and many more. In the first 7 years, the young child is full of levity, lightness, and gradually, so gradually, comes heavier toward the earth. By about age 11, the child can be seen in moments of pure balance before the heavier gestures of puberty and adolescence emerge. We can understand this as an expression of the horizontal plane of space, above and below, and that the playful movements cross again and again, up and down, from those first experiences of the back on the horizontal surface to pushing down through its hands and arms to see and then to reach up and out, and then through that fundamental movement sequence that I like to talk about a lot and I've shared with you in previous programs, to standing upright, walking, and jumping. In this program, I've chosen 6 games that illustrate the ups and downs. From Farmer Brown from Bungalow Town, the simplest, suitable for those ages 2 and up, to Planting Cabbages, suitable for those in the kindergarten, age 4 to 6 about. Don't forget to download Jane Swain's article or to get it in the handouts offering on our website. Now, let's move.
Great. So let's take a look and remember some of the key principles that I just presented there. Finding down and up is a key gesture of the young child. And we can imagine a spatial dimension of an invisible but very real horizontal plane that helps us find down and up by rhythmically crossing it in our movements, and in fact, playful movements. The adult's role is to help guide the child downwards very slowly and gently in a variety of ways, and to provide the conditions where a child can explore and experience that. So our first game is Farmer Brown from Bungalow Town, learned from my colleague and friend here in San Francisco, Julie Phelan. Let's take a look at Farmer Brown, and then we'll discuss it a little bit.
Farmer Brown. Farmer Brown from Bungalow Town sits down on a pumpkin and turns around. Farmer Brown from Bungalow Town stands up on a pumpkin and jumps down.
First of all, obviously that's not a pumpkin, because when we shot this video a little bit ago, we couldn't find a pumpkin in season yet. So this turquoise modernist bench is standing in for a flat princess pumpkin, which is what I use, or you might find some nice big round pumpkin that I'm going to suggest you take the stem off, because we're going to be inviting the child to sit on it and turn around. Also, I'd like to say something about this decor of this room. We are in my sister's home. It's a modernist house designed by the famous mid-century architect William Kreisel. Is a beautiful background for the movement, as it turns out. So you would do Farmer Brown probably in the fall with a beautiful pumpkin, inviting the children out one at a time, possibly with a verse that would say, "Johnny, you are the next Farmer Brown. Farmer Brown from Bungalow Town." And you guide the gesture of the child with your voice, setting a slow pace as I am doing right now, matching the movement of the child. After a few turns in the class, the children will know that you're going to call someone next, and you might not need to do a whole verse to bring them forward. Obviously, this has this sitting down on the pumpkin, turning, standing up, and jumping down in an extremely clear, fun, and challenging way. Holy pumpkin. Joan, do you have any comments about this game you'd like to share at this time?
I just love its simplicity. I mean, it's so clear. And the pumpkin, it just adds great fun to the whole concept of sitting and standing and jumping.
Whatever you can find, you can play with, even if it's unstable. Yeah, another point would be that for the youngest child, they might want a hand or a finger to hold on to help them as they step up, and I usually go ahead and offer that for a while until I feel they're ready to do the jump on their own. All right, so moving on, we have a archival video of Joan herself leading a workshop a few years ago with the traditional song and game Old Miss Sally. Let's take a look.
Sally likes jumpity jump, jumpity jump, jumpity jump. Oh, Miss Sally likes jumpity jump. and old Miss Sally likes to bow. Oh, Mr. Bob likes to reach up tall, reach up tall, reach up tall. Oh, Mr. Bob likes to reach up tall, and old Mr. Bob likes to bow. Little Mr. Johnny likes to turn around, turn around, turn around. Little Mr. Johnny likes to turn around, and little Mr. Johnny likes to bow. Oh, Miss Mary likes to clap her hands, clap her hands, clap her hands. Oh, Miss Mary likes to clap her hands, and oh, Miss Mary likes to bow. Little Miss Rachel likes to kneel on the floor, kneel on the floor, kneel on the floor. Little Miss Rachel likes to kneel on the floor, and little Miss Rachel likes to bow. Oh, Mr. Sam likes to nod his head, nod his head, nod his head. Oh, Mr. Sam likes to nod his head, and oh, Mr. Sam likes to bow.
Great. Let's look at a review of Joan's key principles, the key points. Old Miss Sally, how it engages the movement senses, progressing from the sense of self-movement. You can feel yourself move, and then moving as the level changes, actually moving toward the floor to balance. And the clear sense of rhythm, the repetition, and that interesting out of rhythm element, as you mentioned, the nodding of your head, not in the quicker rhythm of the verse, but in a slower rhythm, more appropriate for and healthy for the young child. All right, let's move on to Jump Jim Joe, which is a traditional song with African American origins I will speak about in the discussion afterwards. Let's take a look at Jump Jim Joe.
Jump, 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 Jim Joe. Jump around and jump around then. Tap your toe. Around, around, around we go. And we turn in our circle. Then we jump, Jim Joe. Jump, 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 Jim Joe. Jump around and jump around then. Tap your toe. Around, around, around we go. Then we sit down in our circle and we don't jump anymore.
All right. So a couple of comments about what you just saw. I repeated this song in two verses, once standing and then once the transition to sitting. In real life, I would do it 3 times, and then the third time take it down to the floor sitting. This is an early childhood adaptation I created after experimenting with this dance, which is often done with older children dancing with partners, and it creates a kind of wild scramble as you change partners. So I've changed it so that we maintain the circle. You're also going to see me miming, reaching for the children's hands, and miming walking in, which would be around the circle. I'm not actually marching or lifting my knees as high as I am when I'm with the children. So that was a little movement demo for you can see that my indication of the gesture of the teacher. As far as the origins of this game and this song, it's quite interesting. In my research, I found that the original song was Jump Jim Crow, a song that had a very different meaning 150 years ago than it does right now. So I think we've redeemed the origins of this verse quite well in this lovely transformation to a children's game. As far as the principles involved, we have this free movement of the jumping. I'm not being too silly, but I am opening up the gesture to be a little more free. The children will just jump and all the different ways that they will. And it is quite interesting to observe those variations. It has clear contrasts of rhythm from jumping to stopping and tapping the toe, changing the pace, and thus engaging the impulse control that is such a challenge for our children today. It is also a great transition game, moving from standing games to sitting, for moving toward quieter hand games or finger games or something a little sleepier, which is also quite nice and actually important for a children's circle. Joan, do you have anything you'd like to add about Jump Jim Joe?
Well, I enjoyed this sense of freedom in the jumping. And then that wonderful moment when you ask them to change to something really quiet and controlled and tapping their toe. That's really nice. All of a sudden, you're sitting on the floor quiet. It's got lots of good contrast.
Okay, thank you. It's fun to do, and honestly, I use it at every single circle because you need something that really is an elegant kind of way to weave the change from up to down and makes the circle go so much more smoothly. All right, here we come back to the archival video of Here We Come on Our Ponies. Let's take a look.
This is called Here We Come on Our Ponies. I learned it from Jack Flagstaff. All of these games are in my collection, which is available downstairs. Let's do it, and then we'll talk about it. Oh, then we'll turn this way. And we're going to sing, and you'll get it as soon as I sing the first verse. You'll all be singing with me. We're going to gallop. So here we go. Ready? And here we come, our ponies, our ponies, our ponies. Here we come, our ponies. Whoa! Whoa! Time to stop and time to say, how do you do on this fine day? How do you do? How do you do? And how do you do? And off we go. Here we come on our ponies, our ponies, our ponies. Here we come on our ponies. Whoa! 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 Time to stop and time to say, how do you do on this fine day? How do you do? How do you do? And how do you do? And off we go. Here we come on our ponies, our ponies, our ponies. Here we come on our ponies. Whoa! Whoa! You're very tame. 3 and 4-year-olds racing around, which is the wonderful thing about this game, is they get a chance to be rambunctious and gallop, and they don't pay attention to the circle, they just gallop. And then to do the whoa, I mean, it's just, they love it. And then this wonderful sociability that brings everybody together to say, how do you do? How do you do? And then enough of that, we're going to gallop. So it's that contrast and all those elements that are so beautiful. And I really love this.
Let's move on and take a look at your key points that you mentioned. The use of the social space of the circle, the maintaining the form, which we do in many of our games, but at a certain pace. As you say, there's going to be quite a bit of galloping going on, so they'll quite possibly break the circle. Someone's going to go off on their own adventure, but the coming back, they will always be coming back, starting and stopping in a variety of ways, and this delightful drama of riding the ponies through the countryside, just riding our horses. I just love that. All right, we're going to take a look at these principles again in our next game, the pirate song, adapted from a traditional song. Let's take a look.
When I was 1, I beat on my drum on the day I went to sea. I jumped aboard the pirate ship and the captain said to me, we're going this way, that way, forwards and backwards. forwards over the deep blue sea. When I was 2, I put on my shoes. On the day I went to sea, I jumped aboard the pirate ship, and the captain said to me, "We're going this way, that way, forwards and backwards over the deep blue sea." When I was 3, I climbed a tree. On the day I went to sea, I jumped aboard the pirate ship, and the captain said to me, "We're going this way, that way, forwards and backwards over the deep blue sea." When I was 4, I opened the door. On the day I went to sea, I jumped aboard the pirate ship, and the captain said to me, "We're going this way, that way, forwards and backwards over the deep blue sea." When I was 5, I took a dive. On the day I went to sea, I jumped aboard the pirate ship, and the captain said to me, "We're going this way, that way, forwards and backwards over the deep blue sea."
All right, the pirate song. Well, I have so much to say about this, but I'm going to try to be concise because there's so much here for the 3 to 6-year-old child. We look at the ups and downs. Of course, there's that wonderful big jump that I lead by moving deeply with my bent knees so that I can take a big jump, landing again with soft knees, which is something I am hoping that they will imitate. And it's interesting to see how they each approach that in what's called motor planning as they plan for that jump. This is a sequential counting game. Each verse progresses one number at a time with different movements. Joan pointed out to me earlier in our practice that I've changed some of the lyrics, which is actually what does happen in folk songs and folk stories. People will adapt, and I have done so without my knowing it. We're also doing something quite unusual in this moving this way, that way, forward, and backwards. And in my own movement, I'm underplaying that gesture. I'm indicating first to the right, then to the left, forward and backwards, without any extra emphasis. However, the children are going to take this pirate boat in hand, and the older ones in particular will want to pull their neighbors and that side of the circle forwards and backwards, and quite a exuberant wave that will come under this boat that is part of the play of getting this ship upright and progressing on its stormy sea, verse by verse. I was surprised when I first started teaching this game that this was the one the children seemed to sing at home a lot. And parents would ask me, "What is this that's going on with the pirates in your class?" And I figured out it was this song in this game. Joan, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
I enjoy that the variety of the movements when you count each new movement, which contrasts with the part that repeats and is always the same. That's a nice combination of something new, but in the frame of the familiar, which the young child is so nourished by. I love the swaying because it very seldom happens in these singing games, and it's a nice move for them to experience, even though, as you say, it can be challenging to manage with a group of kids. And the image of going on a journey on a ship, that's another little drama that I think is special for them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I can see that one of the organizing principles of this collection of action games is this rhythm of going from the new experience back to the chorus, like going out into the world and coming home again to what's familiar and true, giving rhythmic comfort and actually inner strength to the children for a kind of security that it's always going to come around again. The last game of our collection, which is for the oldest children. But before we do, let's take a look at the key points. Sequential game with counting, moving through different planes, not only the horizontal plane up and down, but with the swaying, moving right and left, and forward and backwards. Each one of those is worthy of at least a whole program, if not a year of study. Engaging the impulse control of controlling that circle as we go. All right, let's take a look at planting cabbages, which is from my wonderful friend, Waldorf teacher for over 50 years. She's translated a traditional French song into this lovely game that my own children benefited from. Here we go. Let's take a look.
Shall we plant our cabbages in our garden, in our garden? Shall we plant our cabbages? Deedle-deedle-deedle-dee. We can plant them with our hands. In a neat row we must plant them. We can plant them with our hands. Deedle-deedle-deedle-dee. We can plant them with our feet. In a neat row we must plant them. We can plant them with our feet. Deedle-deedle-deedle-dee. We can plant them with our heel. In a neat row we must plant them. We can plant them with our heel. Deedle-deedle-deedle-dee. We can plant them with our noses. In a neat row we can plant them with our noses. Deedle-deedle-deedle-dee. We can plant them with our ears. In a neat row we must plant them. We can plant them with our ears. Deedle-deedle-deedle-dee.
Every time I see myself doing that, I get out of breath once again. It was quite fun to literally pick Monique's brain about this game because it's so deep in a part of her own repertoire. She didn't even quite know how she did it. And so we looked at each gesture quite clearly and made sure that I was as true to the original as possible. You might notice that I continually lead with my right side. My right hand leads first, my right foot, my right heel. I can't say my right nostril, but I am being the archetype and being consistent with this gentle invitation for the young child to come to their right side toward dominance. If they are truly going to be left-sided, they will turn the other way, or they will go back and forth. We, as the teacher, can be consistent in our movement. That helps the child get oriented to the world, actually. They might do it the way we do it, or they may do it their own way. In the progression of movement, we're going from up to down, the theme of today's program, starting with a logical movement of gardening and planting, reaching down toward the earth with our hands, coming back up again to standing, then doing something that's not quite so logical, planting with our feet and our heels, moving downwards. And then we do something that's quite challenging for many children today, getting back down on the floor, on hands and knees, doing something quite silly, planting with our noses and our ears. And when you look at this again in the video on your own time, you might also notice that I'm carefully placing the palms of my hands on the floor fully. And if you are able to observe this in the children in your class, you will see lots of variations on this, and this will give you some hints as to the movement development and the integration of their reflexes and so on, how they approach this complicated, really, series and progression of developmental movements through this particular game. So Joan, I wonder if you have any thoughts.
I am noticing something which I wanted to mention earlier, particularly in this game, and that is that you've chosen a fairly high pitch to sing in. And I wanted to point out that that is something we need to think of when we're teaching young children, because that's where they are. It's good if we can bring our natural voices up a little higher so that we are approaching the sound element that they are living in and expressing themselves. Then I love the use of the feet because it's putting focus on different ways to use that foot. First, you're sort of using the whole foot, and then you're using the heel, and it's kind of waking up the feet.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go all the way up and then all the way down, and that's a big shift in the up and down in this particular game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's not easy at any age. I can tell you. Yeah, thank you about the comment about the voice. We've mentioned that before and even have a whole program on the use of the voice and gesture, which I can recommend. I always am hearing Monique's voice, actually, as I play Planting Cabbages, and she has a quite lovely high soprano, so I'm always trying to stretch a little bit from my natural tenor to move upwards as I sing, particularly her songs in this lovely game. I also like to say that Monique, who is a quite traditional Waldorf teacher, incredibly well, deeply trained in the indications for the young child, is also quite a maverick as far as movement in her classroom, and invited me to come in year after year and introduce ball handling skills and jumping rope skills and other kinds of things that other teachers were kind of surprised about in the young child, but there was great wisdom in that, and we can talk about that in other programs in the past and for the future. All right, let's take a look at the key points. Planting Cabbages moves from logical gestures of plantings to silly ones, and in that way it is more suited for the older child. Many different levels of ups and extremes that we hadn't seen before in any of these other games, and a consistency in leading the movement, guiding the movement for imitation toward the right side of the body. So that's worthy of lots of discussion in your faculty meetings as well. So I'd like to review the key principles of this entire program as we wind up. That playing across the horizontal plane, this invisible but very real space with ups and downs, is essential in the movement of the young child, especially playful upping and downing. The adult's role is to gently create the conditions for this playful interaction of upwards and downwards. That the adult's movements should be clear and worthy of imitation and without any undue exaggerations, just pure gesture. The child will fill in all the blanks. Changes of pace, changes of direction, and changes of level, meaning heights of the movement up and down, aid in the integration of the senses and impulse control. And last but absolutely not least is that the movement gesture precedes the voice of the teacher just by a hair. You begin the motion and then the verse follows the motion. And that is a very subtle and powerful teaching technique that I'm happy to share with you. So as we conclude, you can please remember to download the 4 handouts. We'll send you the 5th one, the bibliography, in the email, and which you'll get in about a week. All the videos will be extremely smooth. I'm glad to promise you that, even if they were not absolutely perfect in this program. And not to forget to mention that I do offer one-on-one mentoring to enhance your teaching in the classroom via online Skype appointments. And you can read more about that at our website. So I want to thank Joan Carr Shimer for joining us from Vermont. And you can help support our free webinar series, this masterclass series, by buying our book, Games Children Sing and Play, from the online store here, or from Steiner Books in New York, or Hawthorn Books in England. And you can enjoy all these games and more in this collection. Also, you can visit our Vimeo channel for accessing any of our earlier programs or short videos, vimeo.com Movement Academy project. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.